Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. In this session, we are discussing from the 5th verse of the 12th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sampada Kratavo Loka Mahishi Bhrataro Mahi Jambudvipa Adhipatyam Cha Yashascha Tridivam Gatam. The meaning of this verse is, news even reached the celestial planets about Maharaj Yudhisthira's worldly possessions, the sacrifices by which he would attain a better destination, his queen, his stalwart brothers, his extensive land, his sovereignty over the planet Earth, and his fame, etc. So this is the wonderful description about King Yudhisthira. Suta Goswami is describing. So Srila Prabhupada elaborates in the purport, only a rich and great man's name and fame are known all over the world. And the name and fame of Maharaj Yudhisthira reached the higher planets because of his good administration, worldly possessions, glorious wife Draupadi, the strength of his brothers Bhima and Arjuna, and his solid sovereign power over the world known as Jambudvipa. You see? Yudhisthira was so perfectly ruling. He was the emperor of the entire earth planet, and is so perfectly ruling in accordance with the instructions given by Krishna and confirmed by the saintly advisors in his kingdom. So he was ruling perfectly, and therefore his administration became very famous. That news reached the heavenly planets. Now we should always remember, in the heavenly planets they don't really bother much about what's happening on earth, except when such a excellent devotee is ruling the entire earth planet perfectly. Except in such cases, the heavenly residents do not bother about what's happening on the earth. So here the word lokaha is significant. The word that is used in this 5th verse. Sampadaha kratavo lokaha. Why this word is significant? Srila Prabhupada says, there are different lokas or higher planets scattered all over the sky, both material and spiritual. The inhabitants of this earth planet, especially the scientists and some philosophers, in the modern days, they tend to think there is life only on the earth planet, and this is completely wrong. There is life on each and every planet in this universe. Every planet there is life. And there are millions and billions of planets. And the living conditions on the planets are variegated. There are much better planets in terms of the facilities provided to the residents in those planets, as described in the scriptures, called Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka. These are unknown to the so-called scientists and modern day educated class of people. They do not know about this. But there is complete, very accurate and perfect description of these lokas in the Vedic literature. A person can reach them, that is the higher planets, by dint of his work in the present life as stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.25. What is the verse? Yanti deva vrata devan pitri nyanti pitrivrataha bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajino pimam. 4 different destinations are described for 4 different classes of people in this world. What is that? Those who worship demigods, they reach the planet of the demigods in their next life. Those who worship the Pitris, the ancestors, they go to the planet of the ancestors in their next life. Those who worship ghosts and spirits, they attain the abode of the ghosts and spirits. And those who worship Krishna, they are eligible to be transferred to Krishna's planet, the topmost planet, the spiritual planet. So this is the way of worship according to the recommendation in the Shastra. So Srila Prabhupada clarifies here further, no forceful entrance is allowed there. Just like Srila Prabhupada says, the tiny material scientists and engineers who have discovered vehicles to travel over a few thousand miles in outer space will not be allowed entrance into the higher planets. Will not be allowed entrance. Why? Because they are all governed by natural laws. If we don't follow those laws, we cannot enter any of those upper planets. That is not the way to reach the better planets. They have some Sputnik, they have some space vehicle, and they think by simply traveling they are going to forcefully enter. No, never possible. One must qualify himself to enter into such happy planets by sacrifice and service. Yajna and seva, bhakti seva. Yajna means authorized sacrifice given in the scriptures. Those who are sinful in every step of life can expect only to be degraded animal life, to suffer more and more the pangs of material existence. And this is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita in the 16th chapter, 19th verse. It is stated there, 16th chapter, 19th verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Tanama aham dvishata kruran samsareshu naradhaman. Kshipami ajasram ashubhan asurishveva yonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. So demons degrade themselves. They cannot forcefully enter the upper planets. That's not possible. Maharaj Yudhisthira's good sacrifices and qualifications were so lofty and virtuous that even the residents of the higher celestial planets were already prepared to receive him as one of them. So the residents of the higher planets are all pious beings, and they are engaged in sacrifice, they are engaged in seva, in service. They are free from sinful activities. Sin is unknown in the upper planets. On the other hand, we see on the earth so many people committing sin by killing animals just for the sake of satisfying their tongue, to eat some flesh, animal flesh. So this is not at all proper for such people to think that they can travel by some spacecraft to the higher planets where the standard of living is thousands and millions of times better than this best standard of living on the earth. So the method is sacrifice, service, worship, as recommended in the Shastra, not concocted worship, not concocted yajna, but as recommended in the Shastra. So the scriptures are giving perfect knowledge about this process. Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. Now, Maharaj Yudhisthira, he was carrying out his duties as given in the Shastra. But the result of Yudhisthira Maharaj doing his duties properly is that he was able to cultivate the earth in such a way that the earth was providing everything in plenty. That was described in the earlier chapter. So this is possible not because of forceful entrance into the upper planets by means of some space vehicle or some kind of spacecraft. It's not going to work. As Prabhupada says, they may go some few thousand miles into outer space, but they cannot land anywhere. That's why they're always coming back. If they really were to go to upper planets where standard of living is millions of times better, why will they come back to this earth planet which is filled with misery? While they come back to this situation, it's because they are not going anywhere into outer space, neither they are actually able to land in any particular place, suitable place. They're simply engaged in sense gratification, giving trouble to lower animals, and committing so many sinful activities, especially killing the cow, is the worst kind of sin, the greatest sin. What do the Shastras say about cow killing? The killers of the cow, they'll be punished in hell for as many years as there are hair on the body of the cow. Can you count the body of the cow having how many hair? Impossible. So that is the fate that is awaiting all these sinful people. Their future is very, very bleak. Of course, if they take to Krishna consciousness, then they can be relieved of all the sinful reactions. That's possible. If they take to Krishna consciousness, not otherwise. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.